Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Let's Talk show. And today we have a very special guest with us, someone who has vast knowledge in the multiple fields such as astrophysics, philosophy, music as well, and psychology. So our guest is currently pursuing a master's in clinical psychology, and also he is a teaching intern. So we'll have a very good topics to discuss about. And our guest is Neel Desai. It's an honor to have you here with us, sir.
Yeah, it's my privilege.
Please clear me, what should I address you as?
Just Neel.
Neel, that is
that
all
works.
right. So, with such a diverse background that you have knowledge in, how do you see these fields of all the backgrounds connecting in your life, as in your experiences in?
Right. So for this, we'll have to travel back in time.
Okay.
So ever since I was small, I was raised here itself in Gujarat, but I shifted out to United States for about 9-10 years of my life. So basically at that time, you will observe that a lot of people are into quote unquote teenage related things. However, I found myself very difficult trying to fit in. Of course, a brown skinned person with an Indian accent and long hair does not really vibe with the rest of the people. That is when I discovered something that changed my life forever. That were books and YouTube. So I always found myself an avid reader. I used to love reading. Doesn't matter what kind of book it is. It's as long as there are words, I'm into it. And then I found myself gravitating towards these infographic video channels. For our audience here, there was one YouTuber, he still exists by the way, his name is Vsauce. His name is Michael Stevens. So this individual was a very pivotal point in my childhood. So someone who could take down concepts, break them in fragments, and make it fun in a process where you really get amalgamated by the whole aspect of learning, right? So this was something very intriguing for me as a child. Now, to answer your question, I saw myself asking so many questions which were not considered normal. I would assume so my parents and even my friends at that time thought of me as some sort of an abnormal child. Because I used to look at things and wonder for hours, I used to look at an ant and the ant is just walking and I'd be wondering what is the ant thinking? Why is it structured this way and not that way? Why does it have these many legs and not these many? So that's when I found out that anything or everything that you learn in life, they're all interconnected somehow. Before the camera started rolling, we had a word, how philosophy is the father of all subjects. It always started with a why. Why this? How? These questions came. And that's how we gave birth to all the modern subjects we study now. That could range from analytical and logical subjects like mathematics or physics, chemistry, biology, all the way to your arts related subjects. You have your design, you have your acting, dancing. All these things are somehow interrelated with one another. Either it's interrelated in a logically universal sense, an anthropological sense. You can name whatever you'd want to. But these things are very much connected with one another. So one of the biggest things that gives me a kick is finding these interconnections. And they do exist. They do exist. When you talk about philosophy, you had some of the greatest philosophers in their time, right? I think we'll be discussing some in the near future as well. So when you have these beautiful minds asking things which the human cerebral capacity was meant to ask, you get a beautiful output of what we call as a subject or a knowledge. So yeah, these things are very much interconnected.
Okay. In this episode, as we're going to be discussing about astrophysics, universal laws, philosophy, and psychology, starting with astrophysics, what is the basic difference between quantum physics and astrophysics?
All right. Okay. So we all must have studied physics up till your schooling life, right? We have your gravity. We have your Newton. We have your laws and theories of relativity. So basically astrophysics, the word itself will describe it, the linguistic connotation. Astrological and physics. So when you combine things which are out there with the principles of what we studied here, you combine these two and you get what is astrophysics. Now quantum mechanics or quantum physics is one of these fields of physics in general which not everyone is comfortable with understanding. It talks about how one thing can be at two places at one time, but upon observation, it's again at one place. Famously known as the Schrodinger's experiment. Or you talk about things which are beneath the smallest observable things. So we have an atom, right? So till the longest period of time, we thought the atom is the smallest. We were fine. All the scientific theories, all the explorations related to science were limited to that. Okay. Until some fellow came and decided to break the atom. And then we got these three individual particles. We got a proton, a neutron, and an electron. Another person came, broke that. We got quarks. Now when you try to break that, you realize upon breaking it, there is nothing present. So then where did it go? That's when we say it went to the quantum realm. A realm which is so tiny yet infinitely large in its sense that it defies all the laws or majority of the laws of your Newtonian or Einsteinian in physics. But at the same time answers a lot of questions about the universe in a sense which is very theoretical by nature, but at the same time cannot be observed. It can be measured, of course, but it cannot be observed. So both the fields in and of its nature are vast. They both have good scientific backings. They have these theoretical approaches as well. But they are two realms, if for people, in layman's terms, if you want to understand it. You must have watched, are you a fan of Marvel by any chance?
Not much.
Are you aware?
I am aware.
Okay. So there is this character in that Ant-Man. So he can go to any size he wants, right? Or for those people who are following religion or are religious by nature, we talked about Hanumanji, right? He used to enter his Sukshma Roop. That is, you can say a form which is tinier than the atom itself. So then where does something that's even tinier than the atom go? Then we say it goes into the quantum realm.
That is very beautifully explained by you. So the universe is full of fascinating things. It includes black holes, dark matter, and also the cosmos.
Correct.
So can we say, if we look deeper into it, can we say these quantum or the aspects of the cosmos reveal the deep understanding about the universe for us?
100%. 100%. You have to understand one thing. Our most powerful telescopes till this date have only been able to tell us about where things started. The famous Stephen Hawking, Professor Hawking, he talked about how the Big Bang happened. That there was this big collision of energy into such a tiny point, and then it exploded. And till this date, it's still enlarging. It's going on and on. It's inflation. It's a massive cosmological inflation. And there will be a point where entropy reaches its maximum limit and it will collapse within itself. And then it will come back to its tiniest point, and then the cycle will start again. But then we have questions like, what was there before that particle? What's before the Big Bang? Can something exist before the Big Bang? So quantum physics does answer beautiful questions like that. So I'll tell you about this theory. We call it the Schrodinger's experiment. So Schrodinger was
Schrodinger cat's experiment, are you
yes,
referring?
the cat experiment. If you are aware that the cat is both dead and alive. For the viewers who do not know, so this was a theoretical concept that he came up with, where he said, let's place a cat in a box where there is a chamber through which poison gets released. But the chances of this poison releasing is 50-50. Okay. There is no button to press, nothing. Now, situation or variable number one, the poison did get released and the cat inside the box is dead. Variable number two, the poison did not get released and the cat is alive. But you can only know if the cat is dead or alive once you open the lid of the box, correct? So theoretically, right before you open the lid, the cat will be both dead and alive at the same time. Now these are theoretical concepts, hypothesis. You can think of it as a very fictional thought process within a scientist's head. But then we cannot negate these concepts because everything at a point of time was fiction. It was years until we had the heliocentric model. We used to think that the Earth is in the center and the sun and all the other planets revolve around the Earth. And eventually we found out, no, it's the opposite, that the sun is in the center. So we have all these, in a way, philosophical or imaginative or fictional thoughts, which we think is fictional by nature, but in reality are yet to be proved. So you have so many things. You have string theory, you have dark matter and dark energy, you have quantum field theory, you have the theory of dimensions. You have a lot of things that are included.
We have a discussion on dimensions
For
as
sure.
well.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm curious now, is there any one fascinating that blew your mind or a theory that blew your mind when you first discovered it?
Okay.
In
Astrophysics in general. Okay, so I always had this one question. We know that the speed of light is the fastest. We're quite aware of that. But I used to think, I just had a question as a child. So if I'm stationary, like, okay, let's assume I'm just sitting here and I shine a flashlight. You are in a moving vehicle and you shine a flashlight at the same time. So theoretically, shouldn't your flashlight go faster than mine? Since you're traveling faster than me.
Yes.
But then why would it reach at the same time? So I had this question for years. This was before I discovered the theory of relativity, which very easily describes this. But I had no idea. So I came up with this question and it ate my head for years. I was a very weird child, as I have already mentioned, where a question would bother me and books and lectures were not satisfactory by nature until I understood the concept. You can have the most brilliant professors, the most brilliant books written, but as long as I am not satisfied, it's worth nothing to me. So then I started researching. Then I found out that there is something beyond what we consider as life. I don't look at life as normal people. Although I belong from the field of psychology, I tend to think that there is a part of me which says that life is actually quite meaningless. You do put meaning to it, of course, but life is meaningless. You are nothing but a speck which is floating in an empty universe, heading to nowhere. At the grand universal scale of things, you are nothing. So when I had these philosophies or these questions in my head, what is a black hole? Why is there a necessity of a black hole? What does a black hole serve a purpose for? These questions always boggled my head. And sometimes it got even very simple as, how much does a shadow weigh?
Everything starts from a question. So you
Yes.
had n number of questions.
N number of questions. I was a very irritating child. I would eat everyone's head, who I thought was smarter than me. I would just go and continuously, nag them. So yes, that is how it started.
Okay. Whenever we talk about astrophysics or quantum physics in general, this one movie, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar,
Yes.
it blows my mind. Blows
Of
my
course,
mind.
yes.
Because ever since I've watched that movie, I keep asking questions such as, are there any third dimensions or other dimensions that exist? Or
Right.
is interstellar travel possible? So in your opinion, could that be possible? The possibility of other dimensions or interstellar travel?
Okay. So right now you have asked two questions, right?
Yes.
So the first one is, are there any other dimensions or more higher dimensions than what we live in? And your second question would be, is time travel possible?
Yes.
So let's answer the second one first, because that's a very quick answer. Time travel into the past is not possible. I'm very clearly mentioning into the past. If time travel into the past was possible, it would have already happened by now. So let's assume you and I together made a time machine right now. We go back to the time when you came up with the idea of this podcast and told yourself that I will come as a guest and I'll bring this time machine back. Correct. So if time travel into the past was possible, it would have already happened by now. Since it has not happened by now, it's not possible. And you also have to understand that we should not imagine time as just a clock ticking. Time is much more than that. You think about the every essence of an atomical makeup of the universe. In order for you to go back to the past, the universe, the rotation of the earth, the geological location of the entire solar system and the universe has to be at the same spot again, which is not possible. right? You cannot bring back every single atom into its same spot which it was a few years ago. Into the future is possible, time travel.
I mean, there are circulations on social media as well that people have time traveled, the pictures they've circulated. I don't know how far is that true.
So, yes, certain theories are far-fetched, of course, but we should not negate anything until we have proof. In psychology, we study something known as an anchoring bias. Anchoring bias means when the first thing you see, you believe. There is also an opposite of that, where we have this tendency to completely negate and deny everything that doesn't fit our logical sense or framework. Now, this habit, while it is good for your survival and protection, is not good for the betterment of science. You cannot do that. So, maybe in the future, time travel could be possible. You cannot say no to these things. But time traveling into the future is definitely possible. You can go near a black hole, somehow make it back out, and you will find yourself a few decades older than everyone here on Earth. In the movie Interstellar, we saw how on one planet, let's say a minute was 30 years on Earth, right? So that's the time travel aspect. Now we get to a very interesting aspect, which is the dimensional aspect. A very short answer for you is yes. Not only is it possible, we know it exists. Quantum field theory tells us that there are approximately 26 to 27 dimensions. And if these 26 to 27 dimensions did not exist, the mere fabric of the universe would collapse. We know this. We know there are higher dimensions. We have even come up with theoretical concepts to understand. We have come up with 3D modelings of a Klein bottle. For the viewers, you can Google it very quickly. It's a bottle that starts within itself and ends within itself. It has no origin yet ending. Now, we live in 3 dimensions. X, Y, and Z. Now, a lot of people do get confused. They say time is also a dimension, but it is not. We do not consider time a dimension. Although the science community is divided in 2 parts. Some do consider it, some don't. However, no. Time as of now is not a dimension. So we live in 3 coordinates, X, Y, and Z. Okay. Neel Desai Tyson, I don't know if you know who he is. He's a very famous astrophysicist. He has written very beautiful books. So he explained this theory in a very nice way. He said, think of an ant. Okay. So let's say this is the surface. The ant can only move in a X or a Y direction. It cannot look up. It doesn't have the neck to look up. Now, if you drop a grain of rice, for the ant, it's magic. Because it just, in a very magical sense, got produced out of nowhere. Okay. Or if you were to take that rice back, for the ant, it's vanished out of nowhere in thin air. Similarly, there are a lot of things that we think are miracles or coincidences, which could be nothing but the mere controlling of the variables of a being of a higher dimension. Can we understand or visualize these? No. It's impossible for us. Our eyes and our brain, our neurons are only capable of understanding things in 3 dimensions. So we can only learn from these things. We cannot look at a 4th dimension. We cannot fathom the complexity of the nature of it. But yes, dimensions do exist, far beyond our mental capacity to think of or understand. But as of now, like the movie Interstellar, where we could travel between dimensions, no scientific theory, along with its mathematical support, proves it. We don't have anything as of yet. We have speculations, we have theoretical frameworks, but there is no formidable theory. So sad to say that Nolan's movies were just fiction. Although supported by science, very well. But no, as of this point of time, it's not possible to travel intra-dimensional. And it's not possible to travel back into time. You can travel forward in time. That's it.
So if we say there are higher dimensions that exist, so can we say that there are people like us in the other dimensions as well? Like me and you, we are interviewing each other. We're having a conversation right now at this moment. So can we say other people like us, they are doing the future things in the other dimensions?
Could very well be possible. You can never deny or accept this because there is no proof. In order for us to completely say yes or no, we need tangible evidence, but we don't have it. So there is a chance that there is other higher intelligence. You may call it God. You may call it mathematics, you may call it the language of universe. You can call it whatever terminology you'd like. But yes, there is a possibility that something is there. And there could also be a possibility that there is nothing, because nothing can exist in those dimensions. So there is no formidable yes or no answer, but your fictional and imaginative mind can take you anywhere you want.
It's very well explained. So in physics, whenever we talk about physics, Einstein is the person that comes
Yes.
Predominantly.
Right.
So Einstein, he focused mostly on the energies and frequencies that are there. So Einstein, he oftenly quoted, said as, everything is energy and that's all there it is to it. Match the frequency of the energy you want and you cannot help but get that reality. So this idea suggests that our thoughts and frequencies, they form our experiences. So is that possible if we match to a vibration or the frequency around us and we get the life that we desire? Is that possible?
All right. Okay. Before creation happened, when I say creation, I mean exoplanets like Earth where life can be possible. When the universe was nothing but a blank canvas, we only had 4 molecules: nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. Okay, 4. That's it. Everything that exists is made up of a combination of these 4. You, me, the beanbag we're sitting on, this microphone, the audience that is watching, we all are made up of the same elements. So there is, of course, a possibility that everything is interconnected. The universe is made up of us. We are made up of the universe. The constituencies of Earth makes us, and we give it back to the Earth. The philosophical topics of the cycle of life, death, rebirth, life, death, rebirth. So everything is in a cyclic nature. Interconnectedness is possible. So whether Einstein talks about energy, or Nikola Tesla talked about energy, or a lot of scientists talk about these numbers, yes. Of course, it's not as simple as you send the vibrations of $1 million and the universe grants you $1 million. Doesn't work like that. But what works is trying to understand it. If there is one thing you want to do, rather than asking the how, ask the why. Because once you know the why, the how becomes easier, right? Instead of asking how do I match my frequencies or how do I get what I want, instead ask why. Ask the important questions. What? What is this frequency? What is this energy? Getting or not getting, that is a consequence. It is nothing but a consequence of an action or event. But the action or event itself is the most necessary part. We sometimes get so involved in wanting to ask things that we realize that there's nothing there to give it to us. We need to learn how to get there. So yes, I do agree with Einstein's statement to a large degree that there is an energy, there is a frequency within us. You can call it an aura. You can call it a spiritual energy. You can call it waves. Whatever you want to say, in whichever aspect of life you agree with. You can take any, scientific, non-scientific, religious or spiritual. But yes, you have some vibrations. You have certain amounts of these data, basically, that you're sending out. And a bunch of data that you're receiving. What people fail to understand is the data that is being sent out and the data which is being received is the same data in and of itself. So you are made up of the same things the universe is. The universe is made up of the same things you are made of. Does that make us all the same? True. But maybe the similarity is the uniqueness in its nature. We don't know. So whether or not you want to match your frequencies or agree with Einstein, start understanding why these things exist. And then the how becomes easier.
Yes, acting with the true intentions, right intentions.
Correct.
To say it all. So this brings us to the concept of universal laws, because the vibrations and frequencies that we've spoken about in universal laws, we have manifestations and all. So what are universal laws and what is the purpose of universal?
Right. So first of all, let's describe or define these universal laws. Now, what does law mean as a word? So law means a set of rules or regulations that must be followed. It's like a command, a chain of command to maintain hierarchy and to prevent chaos. Now you talk about universal laws. So these syntaxes that must be present in order for the universe to operate, right? Now we have two divisions within these. We have a scientific one and a philosophical one. The scientific one is the famous Newtonian laws, where every action has an equal but opposite reaction. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, can only be transferred from one form to another. These are these universal laws, and without these laws, the universe will fail to exist. Gravity exists. Creation must be followed by destruction. We know these things. These are scientific. These are things which we have seen, which we can prove. Now we enter into the realm of philosophical universal laws, where you have your books that you must read. I am not remembering the name exactly, but it was a book about this manifestation, where you send out certain manifestations to the universe, and then the universe will give it back to you. Right? I am unable to remember the name of the book. I have not read it. But me personally, it's my opinion, I do not agree with all of these philosophies. Because at the end of the day, what is a manifestation? How people define manifestation is, okay. So I had a very interesting conversation with a friend of mine. So she used to always say that, I'm going to write down, I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. She's going to write it 100 times in a book. And she's going to wake up every morning and say that to herself in the mirror.
Affirmations. Basically.
Affirmations. She's going to send it out to the universe. So I told her that this book you're reading, I now remember the book's name, but I won't be saying it to avoid controversies. But yes, so according to that specific book, it said that when you do this, the universe will grant it to you because your vibrations match. So I asked her a simple question. So if I sit here and I tell myself every single day that I am the supreme ruler of the universe, I am the supreme ruler of universe, will that make me God?
No.
Of course not. So then she said that, no, it's not like that. It's not just manifesting. It's like, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to do what is needed to receive that particular thing I want. So I said that, isn't that called as a plan? That's actually a plan. You figure out you deduce the most logical steps, the rights and the wrongs. You figure out where those rights and wrongs will take you. You come up with backup plans in case the first one fails. And then you basically put your head down and work every single day to achieve that result or that job you wanted or that person you love. That's a plan. That's not manifestation. So then there is a big paradox and a big logic flaw in people who believe in these. Although if it works as a placebo effect, that's wonderful. Sometimes placebos are stronger than proved sciences.
If you could explain it to the viewers what placebo.
Okay. So placebo effect is a phenomena in which just upon hearing certain things, you believe them to be true. Okay. So a very interesting experiment was done with a very young boy. He had I think 2 disorders. One of them was trichotillomania. That is the pulling out of one's own hair. So it is an obsessive disorder where a person will literally take hair and pull it out. Now, what these experimenters did is they took the boy, they told him that we have this machine that cures this disorder. Boy was very young, by the way. I would assume around 9-10 years old. They said that you will make you sleep on this machine. This machine will go inside. It will fire up these magnets and it will pull out those defected neurons out of your brain, which causes you to pull out the hair. The thing is, that was a broken MRI machine. The machine didn't work. But the boy doesn't know this. The parents did. The boy doesn't. So they started doing this. They put the boy inside the panel. The panel goes in. over speakers, they play the noise that you get in MRI machines. It's magnetic resonance. So you have magnets tuck, tuck, tuck going along. The boy comes out and then these experimenters and scientists ask him, do you feel tingling somewhere? Do you feel it here? The boy says, I do. Like, oh, nice. Okay. It's working. It's working. So when they did this for over 2-3 months, the boy's trichotillomania habits were completely gone. Just because the boy's own brain believed that there is some medicine working for him. This is known as placebo, where you, due to outside or external stimuli, start believing something is true, and it actually does start happening in your life. So if there is anything as close to manifestation, it would be a placebo effect. That your own brain is tricking your own self into believing something, either for your own good or for your own bad. That depends on how you take it. But yes, placebo effects work. We have seen promising sciences in it. So it could be manifestation is a placebo. Although I don't believe in the philosophical universal laws as much. The laws of vibrations, the laws of energy dissipation, the laws of manifestation.
The law of attraction.
The law of attraction. I do not sincerely believe in any of these laws as much as I believe in a scientific law. But they could exist. There is no denying that there is a possibility. And if they do exist, then there needs to be research on this. There needs to be evidence to support it. And once that happens, there needs to be a global application to it. But first, we'll also have to understand, right? Things like the universe is not a gamble. I read a quote somewhere, very beautiful, that the universe does not owe you anything.
Exactly.
It's not in debt of you. It doesn't have to give you what you want. So at the end of the day, you have to take what you want. You have to be that kind of a person where you have a goal in mind, you want something, you go and achieve it in the best tools that you have at that period of time. If that is called as manifestation, then sure, it exists. But if it doesn't, then not really sure.